All right, everybody, I'm back. Part 2 of Q&A. I just want to get through all these questions to give you as much value as possible. And I felt bad that I just couldn't get around to doing all of them this morning. So here we go, round 2. I think we've got about 5 questions left. First one being, how much of a calorie deficit does one need to be in to lose body fat? Example, my app tells me I need to consume roughly 2,100 calories. So how much less would I need to see body fat loss results? This is a tricky question. And I say that because we need to take these calculators with a grain of salt. They are a great starting point, but I'm going to give you some examples. An example of actually the client's transformation that I posted yesterday. My client, Lindsay, who's still in my program. Shout out, Lindsay. You're doing amazing. We actually increased her food, and she saw the results that she saw, meaning she lost belly fat. She lost 15 pounds. She looks amazing. She feels great. She wants to continue working on herself. I'm not cutting her calories, but she's eating, according to the calorie calculator, she's eating at maintenance and she's losing body fat. And I think we get so caught up in thinking that we need to quote unquote starve or like decrease our calories even more than what we've been doing in order to see results. And what a lot of people actually need is a reverse diet. I kind of touched a little bit on that in the other video, question number 1, how do you reintroduce calories? But if you've come from a dieting history, you've cut calories, you're eating, I would say like below 1,700 for most women, and not seeing physical results, not seeing fat loss, what you don't need is to cut more food. That's not the answer. It just puts your body in a higher state of stress. It's hard to build muscle then, and muscle is like the most precious tissue that you could possibly need or want when it comes from a body transformation perspective. And I want to give you one more example for myself. So utilizing those calories, if I put in my stats, height, weight, age, and my activity level, it tells me that I should maintain my weight in and around 2,150 calories. That's not maintenance for me. I am currently eating over 2,400 calories and maintaining my weight. So you can see what I mean here, that the calculator is a good start, but it's not something you really want to base off of. So I would spend time, and I said this in the first video, spend time eating at maintenance. Don't diet. Let go of that mindset that you are in a diet, because even that in itself, like, that's stressful. And then you start telling yourself like you can't eat that, or you can't go do that, or you end up putting yourself in a different box, and it's not fun. If you spend time eating at maintenance, focusing on getting super strong and healthy and balancing your hormones and making sure you're getting as many nutrients and vitamins and minerals from your diet, it is actually crazy what happens to your body. We don't want to be in a deficit. And so I guess to answer this question, how much of a calorie deficit does one need to be in to lose body fat? Again, it varies hugely on the individual. But I would spend a good 4, and I say 4 weeks, at least 4 weeks, eating at your maintenance calories and see what happens. You're probably going to push harder in the gym. You're going to feel better. You're going to have more energy. And your body's going to be like, okay, we're in a good place here. She's giving me what I need. I am feeling nourished. I can probably let go of a little bit of body fat. So if after those 4 weeks, and I say this very lightly, because if you are somebody who has been dieting for a majority of your life, in theory, you should be spending as much time eating in maintenance that you have been in a deficit. I hope that makes sense. If you have been eating at maintenance and you want to go into a fat loss phase, then I would start with 150 calories, at the most a 200 calorie decrease. You don't want to go too hard too fast because your body is going to adapt. It's going to slow down. And what happens when it slows down, you have to cut more calories. Then you have to cut more calories. And that's not fun. And eventually your body says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, we're not doing this anymore. So then we need to do diet breaks where you go back up to your maintenance calories for a week, for 2 weeks. Sometimes it's 4 weeks before you go back into a caloric deficit. I don't encourage anybody to be in a calorie deficit for more than 6 to 8 weeks before they come out of it for a short amount of time, just from a hormone perspective, thyroid perspective, metabolism perspective, just to do it in a healthy, sustainable way as to prevent yourself from getting health issues, really. So I hope that gives you some clarity on what you could do or how to approach a fat loss phase. All right, let's get back to it. How do you prevent workout soreness? Obviously stretching and not overkill with good hydration. But can you talk about the science of why tendons and ligaments can be so tight and sore after a workout? So this person is correct in saying that hydration, super important. Nutrition, super important. Sleep, recovery, super important. But I talked about this a little bit earlier today in that your approach needs to probably be slower than what you think. We often just go balls to the wall and we do too much too soon. The body's just not ready for it. It's not conditioned. You are lacking mobility. That's a big, big part of sore tendons and joints, is that you are not flexible or mobile enough, and things just like, there's so much inflammation and tension, and there's actual micro tears that happen when you are strength training. That's a good thing. That's how your muscles, tendons, ligaments grow stronger, grow bigger, where you get more leanness, more tone, if that's what you are after. And so with that process of these micro tears, there's, of course, some inflammation. There's a buildup of waste products that happens within your body. And I didn't touch on this at all during the 4-day challenge or the 5-day challenge in the trainings, but staying on top of lymphatic drainage, staying on top of self-massage, doing castor oil packs, something we call the big 6 within my one-on-one community, but there's 6 main points on your body: your neck, your collarbone, your armpit or axillary area, your abdomen, your groin, and behind your knees, where we need to do self-massages. It takes 60 seconds maybe. It's something I encourage all of my clients to do several times a week, because that helps to open up drainage pathways to get toxins and waste buildup out of your body. And we have to do that. It's part of your lymphatic system, because your lymphatic system does not have a pump. We are the pump. But that's going kind of beyond this challenge here, but you can, I guess, get the idea that there's more to decreasing soreness than, what did she say here? Hydration, nutrition, that sort of thing, right? So it's totally dependent on who you are as an individual, your capabilities at this point, and then slowly increasing so that your body becomes more fit and accustomed and stronger. With the right stimulus over time, muscle soreness will decrease. Now, that's the other important thing with workouts, is doing progressive overload, not switching your workouts every day, every week, but following a structured program for 6 to 8 to 12 weeks where you're doing the same exercises, but you're either changing the weight that you're lifting, so you're progressing, you're possibly doing more reps, progressing, you're changing the tempo at which you're doing the exercises, so how quickly, that's progressive overload, and you can play around with your rest in between sets, which is also progressive overload. But if you get a new program, then of course there's going to be some soreness. But if you're sore every single time after a workout, you're probably pushing too hard. Soreness is not an indication of a good workout. And of course, there's underlying factors too, if you're sore all the time. And I know this individual does have fibromyalgia, and I believe she said she has some arthritis. So she definitely has, and I think she actually wrote this in the question. She's got a few things working against her. So I would just say just a slower approach to your program would be best, to let your body adapt to the stimulus. But not working out, not the answer. As I mentioned earlier today, I've worked with several clients. There's currently a few in the program who are seeing amazing success, and that's exactly what we've done. And we work on stress management hugely. Enough rest, active recovery, lots of walking, but just a slow, methodical approach. And you might think, hey, Danielle, this is too freaking easy. But that's okay. I would much rather you get so good at something and not see soreness and see yourself progress, because that's how, we end up doing it. You're not going to end up starting with a squat with a barbell on your back. That makes zero sense. Doing a body weight squat is plenty, right, in this situation. So I hope that makes sense. All right, next. What is a woman's body at 42 lacking that causes soreness? So, of course, it's going to tie into the conversation that I just had in answering questions about soreness in general, but things like mineral deficiencies. And I briefly touched on that when I talked about these HTMA tests that tell us so much about what happens on an individual basis in somebody's body. But mineral deficiencies, toxicities like magnesium and calcium will have an impact on your recovery, on whether or not you are more sore than maybe your girlfriend, for example. Things like dehydration. And I'm talking dehydration on a cellular level. Most of us think that water is great, but water in itself is lacking a lot of the minerals that we need that hydrates us. And if you're drinking tap water, it's gotta go. I'm telling you, tap water has got to go. It is not, you could actually be toxifying yourself. That's not a word, but I just made it up. There are heavy metals, there's pesticides, herbicides, there's prescriptions that are found in certain tap water sources. There's been birth control. You pee, if you are on any prescription drug, you are peeing a lot of this stuff out. It's getting into the water system. A lot of these things get passed through the filters. So filtering your water, not something I talked about, but I'm just adding it in here to give you as much info and value as possible. Filtering your water is a must, in my opinion, and then re-adding minerals, mineral drops, sea salt, Celtic sea salt, whatever it is that you have available to you is hugely beneficial. And that is what is going to hydrate you on a deeper cellular level, because water in itself just doesn't do that. It can actually dehydrate you. I know, crazy, what do we do anymore? But water can actually bind to the minerals inside your body and like flush it out. If you are drinking too much, just plain water without re-adding your minerals, you can actually be dehydrating yourself. Hard concept, I know, it is crazy. And then, as I mentioned, like underlying conditions like lupus, fibromyalgia, low iron, hypothyroidism can lead to more muscle soreness, unfortunately. All right. Yesterday, in our phone call, you mentioned you would encourage resistance training and not to shy away from weights. Thinking off that angle and wanting to understand safely. But obviously we agreed I'm complicated. This individual does have quite a few health complications. That's okay. But she's just wanting to simplify her thoughts for safety and results and not pay for it later. And I'm pretty sure I answered this question even in this live and in the previous live, is to approach it very methodically, slowly, starting with 1 session a week, going up to 2 sessions, 3 if you can manage it. Like, everybody is so different, and there's so many other factors at play here when it comes to recovery, stress, hydration, nutrition, underlying health conditions, even what's going on your body, in your body on a deeper level. Any tips? All right, last question. Any tips on how we can keep our meals interesting and not the same thing over and over again? Healthy food can get super boring and then also overwhelming. So this might come off as harsh, but take from it what you want. This is a limiting belief that this person or this individual has, that healthy food is quote unquote boring and also overwhelming. So your mindset and your approach to nutrition, to food, can probably take a little bit of work, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've heard this many times before. This is not new to me. How do we keep meals interesting? There is so much variety of food available. Think of all the vegetables. There's tons of vegetables. Protein sources. There are a ton of protein sources. You can go from like a chicken breast to a chicken thigh. You can have ground chicken, which you can make meatballs and burgers. I'm obviously probably missing some things here, but beef, you can have different cuts of steak. You can have steak bites. You can have ground beef. You can make burgers. You can make, oh my gosh, with ground beef, we eat ground beef, you guys, every single day. My husband doesn't eat anything but ground beef when it comes to protein, and eggs. But chicken in our house is eaten simply by me. He does not eat chicken. I shouldn't say he does not eat chicken. He'll have it very rarely. He cooks a lot of his own food. I'm not responsible to do all of that for him because we do eat different things. He will eat steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I eat a lot of the same things, if I'm being completely honest. And boring to me is health. I feel great. I would say I look great. I eat 90, probably higher percent whole foods, quote unquote healthy foods. Like, we don't allow that stuff in our house. I don't think it's boring at all. Like, that's not the mindset that I have. I'm not looking at food to entertain me. Yes, there needs to be an enjoyment. I totally get that. There's a social aspect to food as well, our culture, celebration, but it doesn't mean that we need to eat shit food in order to celebrate or not be bored. It's only, and I shared a reel yesterday about the quality of food and how that's changed over the years from like whole food to processed food. So go on my stories if you haven't watched that. But to keep things interesting, I cook in different ways. You can air fry, you can grill, you can pan fry, you can bake, you can steam, roast. Cooking in different ways adds more pizzazz, more variety. Using different seasonings, that's huge. I just cooked up a big pan of ground beef. I'm gonna go have lunch after this. And I added taco seasoning to my beef today. Sometimes it's barbecue. Sometimes it's, I'm trying to think of like my seasonings that I have downstairs, garlic. Sometimes it's like jerk chicken I will have instead of, what else do I have downstairs? Like, you get my drift here. There's tons of different flavor profiles that you can have to mix and match and have your meals be more, shall we say, exciting and palatable. And then to touch on the overwhelming point, I'm not quite sure what you mean by overwhelming. If you keep things basic and eat a lot of the same foods, it's not overwhelming. I think the thought of us having to think of all the different things we have to eat, that then becomes overwhelming. If you know what a balanced plate looks like, and I'm talking a protein, fiber, so vegetables, like add color to your plate, salads, like several different colors, mix and match. Doesn't have to like go together. You should see the food combinations that I have. As long as you are putting together a protein, a fiber source, vegetables, and you've got a fat source, and you don't always need a fat source because a lot of your proteins, like beef, for example, salmon, chicken thighs, those can be higher in fat. But again, I'm not telling you to shy away from fat because I eat a ton of it. Butter, eggs, avocado, nuts, lots of different oils, avocado oil, lots of coconut oil I eat as well. And then a carb source of some kind. And I'm talking, I call them smart carbs. So things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, like I eat these things on repeat. I cook them differently, like mashed potatoes, love bunch of butter in those, pan fried potatoes as well. I've just roasted some sweet potatoes. You can again mash your sweet potatoes. You can also have rice, like don't shy away from rice. There's nothing wrong with rice. I eat a ton of white rice. I don't necessarily eat brown rice because it doesn't agree with me. So if you have issues with brown rice, eat the white rice, completely fine. Things like squash, sprouted grain is fantastic. Sourdough is great. Oats are great as well. So if you have these staples of how to make a balanced meal, it's not overwhelming whatsoever, in my opinion. So that is it. We have wrapped things up. Whew, I kept it under 30 minutes. That's what I was hoping for because I actually have another meeting in 5 minutes. So going to go put my food together and come back here for another meeting. So again, thank you to every single one of you. If you want to have a chat about how my program could help you get to your goals faster, I am absolutely open to doing that. Once again, dropped my calendar link in the live, and I guess that's it for now. Have a great Friday, everybody.